All right, guys, welcome to the Smith Podcast. Today, thank you for following me on this journey, interviewing a lot of interesting entrepreneurs here in Miami and South Florida. But today we have a very special guest, an icon here in South Florida, owns over 300 properties. And when you think of the American dream, this is the gentleman you think of, Mr. Max Álvarez. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you for that kind of introduction. I'm Max. I'm not Mr. Álvarez. So
All right, Max.
I call myself a little Cuban refugee who came to this country, the most generous country in the world. And yes, I feel like I am the American dream, but I want you to understand that I'm only one of many millions of stories who are the American dream, because this is the only country in the world where you can do that.
That's right.
And my story is similar to so many other stories, some even more dramatic than mine. So, this is what makes this country such a great country.
And I really appreciate your time. I mean, I know you could be doing many things. You're running a huge operation here, as I can see. And I want to, let's start off first with when you first came to this country. You were 13 years old. And how was that experience? Because you came in Operation Peter Pan, right? I was reading. I can't just imagine being a 13-year-old, leaving your family behind and going to a foreign country by yourself that you don't even speak the language, and starting from scratch. Talk to me about how that all started. And
I'm often asked that same question, and the more I think about it, because I just you do things and you just act and react without thinking about it. But if you think about it, if you are a father and if you have children, you'll understand. Imagine the courage and the vision that mom and dad had to send me someplace that they didn't know was going to be, but they were totally convinced that it was going to be better than what I was.
Wow.
My father only had a 6th grade education, so was my mother. They had migrated from Spain. They arrived in Cuba when they were teenagers. And when they were about to enjoy the fruit of their labors after working so hard, all of a sudden, from one day to the next, they lose everything. Now, in my case, it's even a little bit more dramatic for mom and dad. I was a young kid. I was 13 years old. But young kids really adjust fairly quickly. Especially, I was blessed to arrive here in a program where Monsignor Walsh became our adopted father. So it's not about me, really. It's really about mom and dad. My brother, who was exactly 7 years and 1 day older than me, passed away the same day that I left Havana.
Wow.
So imagine my parents lost
devastation.
the 2 boys in 1 day.
Wow.
So there's no description for that. And I can tell you right now, I have 3 children. I have 7 grandkids. I hope I never in a position to make that kind of decision.
That's a tough one, yeah.
Yes. At the beginning, it was difficult because I didn't speak the language and all that, but I was included. I remember soon I was assigned to go to La Salle High, La Salle in Maquedara. By the way, I was the first graduating class. I started there as a freshman, 1961, when the school starts.
Wow.
And that was dramatic. The biggest reason that it was dramatic is because in Cuba, I go to the Marist brothers. And the Marist brothers and the La Salle were the opponents, and we were very competitive. So whenever we played baseball or basketball, we'd have fights because, that was intense. So
right.
I was a Marist at heart. Marist, by the way, the same as Christopher Columbus here. So
right.
So all of a sudden, I am with the enemy. And that was I can tell you right now, I remember vividly, I really hated to go to the enemy because, that
You
was
felt like a traitor.
that was the way I was brought up. So
Right.
luckily, I went out to try out for the baseball team as a freshman, and I made the team. So the rest is history. I'm very loyal to myself.
Nice. There you go. I also read, fast forward a bit, you're a Seminole, Florida State Seminole. How was your experience there? And I know you studied. Let's talk
Before I get to the experience there, let's start my freshman year in high school. I didn't speak any English at all. As a matter of fact, I graduated from La Salle, and I don't speak English. I can understand it, but I couldn't speak it because we were surrounded by Cubans, and we live in a home with 60 other Cuban kids, so we always spoke Spanish. And I remember when I graduated, I really didn't know the details. All I fill out application where they say sign here, sign there. So I'm going to a small Catholic school in North Carolina named Belmont Abbey College. And I remember asking Brother Lewis, who was my advisor at the time, why you send me this far? And quote, I'm getting you away from the Cubans so you can learn how to speak the language. And now I arrive in North Carolina, again, with language difficulties.
There's no Cubans around at this point.
I met, by the way, yes, I did meet Julio Noya, who was from Puerto Rico, by the way. So he became my friend, but Julio and I were about the only two Latin people there at the time. So my first roommate in college, Henry Shelby, from Birmingham, Alabama.
From Alabama.
From Birmingham, Alabama. Imagine this now. Cuban refugee, doesn't speak the language, goes into a town, doesn't know anybody practically, except maybe one kid. I live in the dorm. So the dorm the setup is a suite with 4 rooms, and 2 students per room, and we share a big bathroom. So early at Belmont Abbey, I'm naked, wrapped around a towel with a soap in my hand. And Henry says, where are you going? So I say, take a shower. And half an hour later, he says, you mean shower? I don't need to tell you what I responded to him in my Cuban accent. So this is funny because by the end of the year, I would call Henry. I said, Henry, I'm going to shave, shower, shampoo, shit, and change my shoes if I have the time. So Henry adopted my accent. I adopted his accent. So I was there for 2 years, and then I transferred to FSU. By the way, that's the first time I ever go to a public school. FSU is a state
public school.
Right. I was always, and I think it's a blessing.
Yeah.
I was always received Catholic education from the time I was in kindergarten. So that is an education that I think is extremely important.
What did you learn from that Catholic, schooling and upbringing that has stuck with you throughout these years?
Well, it starts at home with mom and dad. My parents, like I said, didn't have any formal education. But the family values that my mother and father exhibited are just incredible. And I think that's where it starts. Then I'm blessed to go to Catholic school where they really instill the core values, the 10 Commandments, the family value. Then I'm even more blessed to arrive in a country where I have nothing, and I'm adopted by Father Walsh, who I think is a saint because he's not only my dad, but he's the dad of over 14,000 children who came to this country with nobody. So that's incredible. And I remember after I graduated, I started working, having lunch with El Cura Walsh, Monsignor Brian Walsh, which to us, El Padre Walsh.
El Padre Walsh.
And vividly remember him talking to me about the core values. And I remember he said something to the effect that if you provide children with those basic core values, is the equivalent of a foundation in a big building, it will never fall. And I remember he said it was very important to teach that to children before they reach, certain age. So
I have to agree with that. That's very important because foundationally, I think starting at home, like you said, mom and dad at home, and instilling those foundations, those, call them biblical or call them core principles for a kid, is foundational for their whole life.
and when you are exposed to those values, of course you get, you reach an age that you have free will and you can do the opposite or whatever the case may be. However, you have what you call a conscience, and every time you do something wrong. You may lie to me, you may steal something, but you really don't feel good. And when you look at yourself in the mirror, you feel bad.
You can't lie to yourself.
This is the difference.
Yeah.
When you are raised in a communist culture where the ends justify the means, because you don't have a conscience. Everything you do is justified. The ends justify the means. So when you come over here and you see people who come from Cuba right now and do some things, it's hard for us to understand. But you have to understand that it's 6 generations of indoctrination.
Correct.
They don't believe in God. They believe in today. They don't care about tomorrow. They're totally dependent on the government. So there are excuses and justify when they steal or do something wrong. I want your automobile. You don't want to give it to me, I can shoot you and kill you. I'm okay because I wanted the automobile. The ends justify the means. So it's very difficult. And you can see how once you become old enough, you have free will. So how, when they come over here, some adjust to it and do the opposite and become regular people. But there's a lot of them who can.
Right. I would say the majority. And it's sad. It's sad because it's our motherland, right? And I see, and I have clients that I talk to, and they say, hey, where are you from? I'm saying, I was born here, I'm American, but my parents are Cuban. But it's different because I almost say there's almost 2 generations or 2 different types of Cubans. I come from the old school Cuban. From my parents are my father's 70 something years old. My mother was, she should have been around 65 now. But the way that they were brought up and they brought us up is different. Where you see now the new generation of Cubans are coming into this country like indoctrinated from communism, right? Where they remove religion out of the picture. They remove
Family values
out of the picture. All this is removed. So now they come here, it's, what can I take?
The ends justify the means.
Yeah.
And they're totally used to depend on the government handouts. Now, let me tell you something that recently happened to me that made me feel really bad. So I was very instrumental in bringing a father of a young lady who works at one of our gas stations. I know enough people, and I think I was very influential. So we're very successful in bringing the father here. The young lady was extremely happy. So about 6 or 7 months later, I happened to meet the person, the father, and I asked him how was everything, and he was very happy to be here. What a great country. And I asked him about the paperwork. He said, oh, everything, I got the paperwork, and it's fine. I said, okay, and by the way, did you have a Social Security? He said, oh, yeah, I have Social Security, and they gave me a working permit and all that from early. I said, oh, what are you working? He says, no, but I cannot work. I said, are you okay? He says, yeah, but if I work, I lose all the benefits.
Oh,
I felt this big. I felt so bad, and by the way, I don't have.
Because you felt like you contributed to.
I don't have a filter, but I feel like really bad.
Yeah.
Thank God I control myself, and I just walked away and said, okay, I'll see you later, because I really felt that this is my fault. And again, back to what we were talking about before, that's the mentality. It's not that this is a bad person. This is
what they know.
If you get a German Shepherd, a dog, and you teach that dog not to eat anything except what you feed him, that's what you'll do. If you train that dog properly to bite whoever you choose to be bitten, that dog will bite that person.
Right.
So these people, they're no longer very rational because this is what they know, this is what they learn. They are programmed to be this way.
Yeah.
And this is so sad. So my biggest concern is our country, because we are distinguished from any other country because the next generation is always being better. Right now, our next generation is in jeopardy because of what has happened in this country. Our country is being invaded.
We've been under attack for the last 4 years.
The kids have been indoctrinated. This is funny. They talk about inclusion and equity. Okay. And I remember I was 13 years old and I came to this country, and I think I mentioned to you before, I was put in a regular class. I was included. I was just put in a class. It was tough. I didn't know the language, but soon after that, I managed. I managed because I had those core values that you fight, that you keep on trying, that you need to be competitive because the life is about competition. So, so the rest is history.
You held on to that when you got here.
So here is the problem today with inclusion, their inclusion. So they take a kid and they put him in a special classroom that is called non-English speaking classroom. You just gave that kid a license not to learn the language. You are excluding him.
You're debilitating him.
You are making him different. You are not including him as part of this great country of ours. Equity, the same BS.
Mm-hmm.
If I work hard, and this is the typical example that we have used so many times, and I get 100 in the test next day, you got drunk the night before, you went to a party, you barely got 50. Do I have to give you half?
Yeah, of course not.
That's not equity.
One works hard, one goes to party. They have different results.
That's incredible.
There's different consequences.
And then, when I hire you to do a job, I don't care what color you are. I don't care what accent you have. I hire you because you are competent to do that particular job. Not everybody has the same capacity.
Right.
Listen, I cannot be, I'm not a pilot, I'm not an astronaut. I don't know if I could or not, but I know that I cannot be today because I don't have the capacity to do it. I don't have the instruction. I don't have the
You didn't train for that.
Correct. So you're not going to make me a pilot because I have an accent or because I'm green. And this is the problem with these people. And they use that to make sure to divide us, because divide and conquer. And if you read Alinsky, that's exactly one of the 8 things that they tell you.
It's funny you're saying that, because at that conversation I was having with my cleaning lady.
Yeah.
I was telling you earlier, I was telling her about Karl Marx.
Yep.
I was like, his main goal was to take down the government, was to bring down, destroy government. And how do you do that?
8 things.
Right? Open your borders. You want to bring a lot of illegals? You're gonna start buying votes.
Make sure that you're poor. Make sure you depend on the government. Make sure that the government controls your health care.
Exactly.
Make sure you don't have any weapons.
No weapons.
You have weapons.
Remove weapons.
Correct. Make sure you don't believe in God. Make sure you don't care about your parents.
Exactly. And what is that equal to? If you look at the Cuban regime, that's exactly that.
Communism. So, but anyways.
So that's exactly what it was. Moving along though, but thank you for sharing that, because it shines a light onto where we're at today and where we're in this country today. And our amazing President Trump, I think he's doing a great job now in office. He's getting rid of all the corruption. And I feel like I'm in commercial real estate. Most of the viewers here are into the economy, real estate industry. And I feel when I get a taste of what's going on in the market, it feels positive. It feels like there's a lot of things happening, even though it's not going to change from one day to the next, but there's a lot of positivity going on. The economy is being stimulated. We have a good leader at office. And I think that's important for business owners and entrepreneurs.
As you know, I was educated here. I have a very successful business. I paid taxes all my life, and I'm very proud of that. But I never knew about these U.S. aids. And my God, at my age, I just found this out because somebody went in there. And it really, just like I'm very proud of paying taxes, because that means I'm successful. it's very sad when you see that these people are robbing you of your hard-earned money for their own personal purposes, sending money to people who hate you, which, by the way, those are kickbacks, you know. They said, I'll send you $1 million, but
access for me.
you put $500,000 in Switzerland for me. And you know that. So this, and what is really sad is that the press, the entire press covers this up. You don't hear CNN or ABC or CBS
Yeah, they cover it up.
saying, oh my God, look what these people have been doing. But they're covering when they go and demonstrate against Elon Musk or whatever, this is amazing.
Yeah, they try to point at something that
And these are elected officials who are disgusted because they're finding out how much fraud is being committed, because that's fraud.
100%.
And this is, thank God that the American people voted correctly in November, which, by the way, to this day, I know I cannot prove it. But I think President Trump was elected 3 times, okay? So I think
so too.
I think in 2020 they stole it too, but that's beside the point.
I still think it was stolen.
Thank God at least they couldn't steal it this time. They tried.
I almost feel like everything happened for a reason, and I feel like it was best. Maybe he wasn't ready. I don't know. But I feel like now, this time around, he's not taking any chances.
Well, he learned a lot because he's not a politician.
Correct.
And the first time, unknowingly, he surrounded himself with a lot of bad people who betrayed him.
Right.
People who really don't care about the country. People who only care about power, money.
Yeah, the politic world.
So I think this time he's got much more experience, and that's really helped him a lot. I am concerned because of his age and the fact that this guy doesn't sleep, and the fact that you may not know this, but I know this. When he's traveling for lunch, he orders a Big Mac with a filet of fish inside, a Fanta, and the largest French fries that you can order. So it's amazing. So
I wonder how he would perform if he was eating clean.
I don't know. This is amazing. So God bless him, and I think his life was saved by divine providence. I
believe it.
Being Catholic and believing in God, so we were this close from losing this country.
Yeah. I think God definitely spared his life and gave him this opportunity for a reason.
Let me tell you what even concerns me. This is from young people who are educated and on the right side of the equation. And when I was concerned what was happening, they would tell me, "Viejo, don't worry about this. This is a pendulum. It will go this way and they'll go back this way." So naturally, the pendulum is swinging this other side now, and that reinforces that kind of thinking. I honestly believe that if this election would have not had the results that we had, I don't think the pendulum would have ever been able to come back, because just look what happened. They had the Justice Department, the FBI, the CIA compromised.
Completely.
They were persecuting. This is what they do in Cuba. The only thing they had not achieved, which they would have achieved if they get another 4 years, is to get rid of your weapons.
That's right.
That is the only thing they haven't achieved, but they achieved everything else.
They were almost there, and they were going for it.
Correct.
They had made a few attempts.
Just, by the way, the invasion that happened for the last 4 years, that's a plan. That's just not a coincidence. That's a plan. And they were aiding and abetting the people who are criminal coming into this country.
Yeah.
For a reason.
Yeah.
To then make them dependent of them.
That's right.
And what is really sad, those of us who really understand communism, once they take over, the first people that go is the press. So the very people who help them get into power, the
press is already corrupt.
There will be none of that. But they're so stupid, they don't understand that, because they don't want to look around.
Right.
Where is the press in Cuba and Venezuela and Nicaragua? There's only one newspaper.
That's it.
And they think that they're going to prevail when they come in. They're so stupid. They really are stupid. I hate to tell you, they are stupid.
It's
They're
nonsense.
digging their own hole, and they don't know
It's
how.
nonsense, and it's a
They don't know.
heavy ignorance.
They
but
don't know how deep the hole is.
yeah, great economy. Going back here, you went to FSU, Catholic schooling. When was it? I think you started. Well, let's wait for. I think you started your career or opened your first corporation. Talk to us how you started and how you got into building this empire.
I am a firm believer, and this is something that we need to teach our young students. If you want to be a good chief, you have to be a good Indian. Okay.
That's
So
right.
I started my first business was at age 13 washing cars on Biscayne Boulevard and 21st Street. Okay, so that's really my first business, and something that is extremely important. And when I talk to young men, and I make it a very important point. Whatever I was doing at the time, whatever you're doing at the time, no matter what it is, you want to be the best that you can be. So I will wash a car. And I was thinking, I want to be the best car washer in the world. Not in Miami, not in Florida, in the world. I was driving a truck at Blue Ribbon Mills in the summers. I wanted to be the best truck driver in the world. I was working for an engineer because I'd taken a course in drafting, and I wanted to be the best engineer in the world.
Where did that come from?
That I'm pretty sure that starts with mom and dad. Was what I see. Mary's brothers, everything was about competition.
Competition, trying your hardest.
Competition is so important because life is about competition.
That's what makes you perform at your best.
I feel so bad right now when if I go to a baseball game with children and the kid strikes out and they say, "Good boy, Johnny." No. You either shut up or say, "You suck, Johnny. Johnny, you got to go practice." You are lying to the kid.
Max,
He's not a good boy because he strikes out. You're not a good boy because you finish 5th and you get a trophy. You should only get a trophy when you finish 1st.
Max.
And if you finish 2nd, you need to try harder. That should give you an incentive to next time be better.
That's right. Max, I'm laughing. The reason why I'm laughing is I'm a T-ball coach, and my son is in T-ball. He's 4 years old. And all the coaches, assistant coaches out there are probably are going to be watching this. I always tell them, practice at home with your kids. I tell the kids, you need to practice. And if you guys want to win a championship, if you guys are playing just to play and just playing, this is not what it's about. Obviously, I want you guys to have fun, but we're here to win.
And you need to keep score.
Yeah.
I miss this so bad. From the time I remember in kindergarten, every classroom was divided into Roma y Cartago. Everything that every kid did counted points. At the end on Friday, the points were added and you had a winner on Monday. That's the team. Roma y Cartago. Half of the class was Roma, half was Cartago. After that, on Monday also, whoever individually accumulated the most points, he's number one. So you always knew exactly what you stood in your class. Class were usually
so it was by team and then by specific
and personal. Okay, so on Monday you get a report card, and you had, ¿cómo se llama? ¿Cómo te portabas bien?
Conduct.
Conduct. Number one, you had to be 100.
Right.
If I came home, I didn't have 100.
That's your character.
I was in trouble. Then you had order of merit, which was where do you stand in the class. If you were number one, that means you had the most points a week. If you were number 20, you were the last one. If I ever brought anything more than number 5, my dad wouldn't sign the report card. Had to be signed Monday at lunchtime, and then you take it back to school because we started early in the morning. They had a couple of hours for lunch. We went home, and then you come back to school.
So you had to get it signed
every day. Okay, so this was in every grade.
How did you do in that?
I was I was very competitive, so that's the nature of the
try to always be.
I'm telling you, if I was not in the top 5, my dad would refuse to sign the report card. So, and
that's why that's what gave you your heart, is your commitment, your character.
Why do you think that I love golf so much? Because I'm competing against myself.
You're competing against yourself.
I'm driving to Orlando. and I'm really speeding bad. Esther, who's very patient, gets on my case and says, we're on vacation. Why are you doing this? She doesn't know, even though she's been with me 60 years. I've been married 53 and we were 7 years. And she doesn't know that I'm competing with myself, because the last time I went to Orlando, I did it in 4 hours. Now I want to do it in 3.5. But I don't tell anybody. I'm playing golf. You think I'm having a good time. I'm probably cooking my liver. I'm cooking my liver because I just had a double bogey, and last time I played better. And I'm
competitive. It's the competitive nature.
Correct. Just I don't think I can function without competition. I can't. I'm playing dominoes, and if you see it, I told you we'll be doing that for 35 years.
The Michael Jordan of entrepreneurship right here.
If you see me playing dominoes and
by the way, I have to play dominoes against you.
Well, you would probably think that we're gonna kill somebody, because we're playing for $2, but it's like
it's not about the dollars.
It's not about the $2. It's about I want to win, and then people think, well, he's not having a good time. Well, I have a good time when I'm competing. If I'm not competing, I just take a nap.
Right.
Because why?
No, you're right.
So
I'm competitive too.
The reason I've been successful in my business, I don't care what anybody says, okay? Because I'm not very intelligent. Number one, I surrounded myself with really good people that complement the lack of intelligence.
I have 2 questions for you, by the way.
But I remember, again, when I washed cars at 13, when I bought my first Ford gas station, I'm meeting with Manny at 2:00 in the morning after we did the closing. I went to the stations and all that. And I remember Manny says to me, Flaco, what are we going to do? What's the program? I said, we want to be the best gasoline retailer in the country. We want to have the best image. We want to have best pricing. We're going to be open all the time. We're going to be the best. And make sure we're definitely the best of the guy across the street. And that's the way I think. And again, I may not get there. But I'm telling you right now, when I go to bed at night,
the majority of anyone who's watching this has put gas at a Sunshine gas station.
When I go to bed at night, I sleep happily because I gave it all.
Right.
So I cannot imagine saying, oh my God, I could have done this and I didn't do this.
Right.
You know why? Because I learned at a very young age, simply because of what happened to us, that time is the most valuable asset that we have.
That's right.
You can never, ever regain time once you waste it.
That's it.
Never. You can regain money. You can regain your health. You can, if you had a good doctor, but time.
That's a very important point you're making there, because I tell a lot of my guys that I train, I'm a broker of about 9 agents, and I tell all my agents, and when I train bi-weekly with them, I say, you cannot gain your time back. You have to give yourself respect in your time. If you have clients that are not interested, they're not giving, if the response is not there, that's not worth it. Save your time.
We're in this earth only a limited amount of time. It's just,
you got to be intentional, and everything that you're doing has to be intentional.
And your productive years are not that many. You know what I mean? So you need to.
And the Bible says, number your days. Your days are numbered. If you put, that's wisdom. If you know that your days are numbered, if you look back, say, these are the numbers of days that I have, you're going to have a different perspective in life.
Again, I'm so blessed in so many things. I have so much more than I deserve. But think of what I personally learned, because what happened to my parents, what happened to my country, what happened to me, what happened to my brother. I know my brother died. He just turned 20 years old in June, and he passed away in July. That could happen to me. So since I learned that at such a young age,
you could be here today and gone tomorrow.
I learned that at a young age. I don't wait for tomorrow.
This will be today.
If I have to do it, I do it today. And when somebody says I'll do it later, I cringe. I just because I'm thinking, what in the blank makes you believe that you're going to be here later?
You hit a good point there. I was just sharing this with my the vice president, one of my partners in the company, I said, man, you have to have in every day that you wake up, there has to be a sense of urgency. You cannot wait to do something in 5 minutes, 10 minutes. If you happen to do something, you do it now. You're going to make that call him now. You're going to call that owner. Is he going to sell? Call now. You cannot wait. And that's a beautiful point that you just made, because I was just sharing that last night.
And I think, again, that is, there's so many things that influence your success. And one of them, the value of time, the value of urgency. Also, extremely important, you need to understand priorities. What's important, what's less important.
Correct. Very important.
You know what I mean? I just
Everything has a scale.
And the value of things.
Yeah.
I remember working at Doral, for example. I mean, playing golf at Doral.
Yeah.
And the girls were working for tips, making less than minimum wages. And they would buy a purse that costs $700, a Gucci or whatever. And I remember trying to explain to her or to them, and you better off saving that $700 and using a Gucci like mine. That's a Gucci. So this rubber band with $700 is worth a lot more than a pocketbook that is empty.
Right.
That you probably bought.
That's a good
with
point.
Money that you don't have, something that you don't need, to impress people that you don't even know.
That's 100% correct. Yeah. That's true.
I can assure you another reason that I became successful. I never buy things that I cannot afford to pay cash, except maybe my home or the medicine. If I have to buy medicine, thank God I never had that problem.
How about real estate?
I have never financed a car. I have never financed anything that I don't need.
How about, this is a good topic here, because there's a lot of people out there that says there's good debt and there's bad debt.
Whenever you borrow money, is to create more money. Every time I buy a station, I borrow money.
That's a good debt.
Every time station, I borrow money.
Right.
Because that station pays for that debt.
Right.
If that station couldn't pay for that debt, I wouldn't buy that gas station.
Right. That's good.
So borrow money to make more money.
That's it.
To get some more assets.
Not the other way around.
Not to go to Vegas and gamble.
Right.
No, not to buy things that you don't.
How did you buy? Let me ask you this. How did you buy? How did you start? What was the first gas station you bought? I know it was 4, the first 4. But how did you start?
It really helps the fact that I am not that intelligent, okay? Simply because I'm not that intelligent, I do things that if I was intelligent, I would be afraid because of the consequences. So keep that in mind. And I'm not being humble. I'm just telling you the way I feel.
It's true.
So I am so confident that when I buy a gas station, it's going to be successful. That I'll do whatever it takes to buy that, as far as taking a risk is concerned. So when I bought the first 4 gas stations, and this is something, good lesson for children, in the way to the bank to borrow the money to buy those 4 gas stations that I didn't have, my lawyer, who had looked at the financial statements from 7-Eleven that was selling me this 4 station for practically the 4 stations, $675,000. Imagine that. The real estate tax, the tax value of the station were higher than what I was buying it for. So you know what I mean? So he looked at the financial statements, and the way to the bank, he says to me, Max, listen, you don't have to do this. You can back out. 7-Eleven is practically giving you these 4 stations because nobody wants them and they just want to get rid of them. You really don't have the financial capacity, and these people, the largest convenience store in the world, they're practically getting rid of this crap. So have you looked at the financial statement? My answer to Fred was, my lawyer, I said, are you afraid that I'm not going to pay you the bill? No, but you have to understand. I said, Fred, just don't worry about it. These were really 4 bad gas stations, but I never doubted that I could make them work. And then again, I always felt, so what is the problem if I fail? I don't think about failure. It just didn't even enter my mind.
Right.
Okay, so
That's good.
this is a good story also.
That's really good.
So we go to the bank, do all the paperwork. We finish doing the paperwork. Fred grabs me by the arm, takes me out to the hallway. He says, Mr. Concepcion, who's still alive today, by the way, he retired from the Ocean Bank. He says, Mr. Concepcion.
Is the banker?
The banker, he was a vice president at the time, then became the president of the Ocean Bank. He said, Mr. Concepcion wants to buy one of the 3 stations. And you're so lucky. I said, what is it? He says, the one on 8th and 87, he wants to give you $1 million. I said, okay, well, I'm not going to sell it. So he shakes me and he says, did you hear what I said?
Your attorney?
He's giving my attorney, Fred Ramirez. He says, remember what I said. He's giving you $1 million. You came here with no money. You're going to end up with 3 stations and money in your pocket. What do you mean? I said, I'm not going to sell it. So he sort of, you can tell that he's kind of upset. Goes in and tells Mr. Concepcion that I'm nervous. Gives him the card and says, listen, come in a few weeks, he'll change his mind. Once he sees that I wasn't buying it, he'll change his mind. Sure enough, about a month later or so, I get a phone call from Fred telling me how lucky I am. Now the Ocean Bank wants to offer me $1,100,000 for the station. And I said, I told you I'm not going to sell it. He got so upset with me and he hung up on me. I still got the station. It's an 1887. It's a Chevron right now. Okay. I still have all 4 of them. Okay. And they're all thriving.
That's the heart of Westchester.
This is the key that Fred never understood. I am not, and I refuse to be motivated by money.
Good.
I know my kids know, it's hard to understand this, but they understand it.
It's not about the money
You
anymore.
cannot understand. Money is a necessity. Money is a means of exchange. You got to be motivated by your dreams, by your conviction that you can do something that you want to do, that you're going to be a difference.
It's more about the goal that you have and you want to accomplish.
And if you think I'm exaggerating, you can ask anybody who know me from the time I was a little.
It's like comparing it to the dominoes and the $2.
Correct. Exactly. So, and again, I learned that from mom and dad. I learned that from the Marist brothers. I learned that from the Christian brothers. I learned that from Belmont Abbey. I didn't learn that in FSU, believe it or not. I remember every class that I ever had through my sophomore year in college, they took the roll. And if you miss 3 days, you're out.
Wow.
If you had 3 days missed without medical excuses,
Sure.
it's different. At FSU, I remember I go in, you have a midterm and a final. You don't even have to show up. You cannot compare that kind of education.
Yeah.
I don't care what anybody says.
It's not the same.
Right now, they're bragging because the graduating class had an overall average of 95. And I'm thinking to myself, you people are stupid. They're taking courses in the computer. They have Alexa. Alexa, who discovered America? Hey, Christopher Columbus, 1492. They don't study, and of course. That's why they come out of school and they don't even know how to add and subtract. Literally.
That's true. No, and
It's
now,
a sad.
interpersonal skills. These
This is average class graduating 95. Are you kidding me? No kidding. They're brilliant. How come we be so stupid?
Yeah. It's
really sad.
It's
So,
sad. It's sad.
Again, the will to win, the capacity of doing things. You got to be careful, but have no fear. And I think I coined this. Somebody told me they never heard it before. I don't remember reading from anybody, but fear and failure are synonyms. If you're afraid of something, most likely you're going to fail. You're going to fail.
Yeah.
So you need to be committed. You need to be careful. That's just like
You gotta be
everything else. You
cautious.
need to be cautious, but don't have fear, because if you have fear, very difficult to be successful.
Max, biggest mistakes and lessons. Looking back, what was your biggest mistake and what did you learn from it as an entrepreneur?
Again, I don't want to sound cocky, but I never made a mistake, because whenever I made mistakes or whenever I have failed, I have used it as a positive condition to get better.
I like that.
So if I fail, it's a learning experience. So that's not a failure, because we're not perfect by any means of imagination.
I tell people, problems don't happen to you, they happen for you.
There's no way. Listen, if I was given $1 for every mistake or every failure I'd probably be a millionaire today. I don't consider a failure. And again, deep inside, I don't think I fail, because
You don't
whenever
see it
I
as
have
you don't
failed,
see it as a failure.
whatever I have seen as a failure is a learning experience. Well, just like when I went to school, I have to go to school to learn. So this is a learning experience. That's an investment.
An investment.
So again, I don't want.
That's a great response. Great response. That's one that
By the way, you notice I'm not reading anything. I'm telling you the way I really feel.
course.
Because
Yeah.
one thing I heard is people who are hypocrites. So, and I'm very careful, because I'm not using the adjective that I normally use when I'm talking to you, because it's gonna be heard by people.
Sure.
But this is not my regular language,
Right.
okay? Because I'm really vulgar.
so it's okay. We have the PG max here.
So
Listen, this question here is for a lot of the commercial real estate brokers out there, and I wrote this one down because they asked it to me on social media.
Okay.
And I know,
I hope I give you the right answer.
well, there's no right answer, but if you receive a cold call from a random broker whom you've never met before, what separates a good broker from a bad broker?
Okay.
This is a good point of view, because now we're speaking directly with
an
investor here.
Any broker who calls me about a gas station is not a good broker, because if it's a good broker, you need to do your lesson and figure Max knows every gas station that is in South Florida. Max probably knows every gas station that is in the state of Florida. So why would I call Max about a gas station? Now, if he calls me about something else, it's a different story. The nature of the beast is one that I really don't like, because there's good people and there's bad people, but a lot of the brokers tell the buyer one thing and the seller exactly the opposite. Okay?
Recipe for disaster.
They're telling the buyer you're stealing it, and they're telling the seller you're robbing him. And they don't want you to get together with that. So I don't like that part. I know at least a couple brokers who are really good people. One, for example, I would call him, and I remember calling him. I said, "Listen, help me out. I need to get an office soon, because I needed to move from a property at the route that they were tearing down." In a very short period of time, he had about 5 different places. Never ever told me sign a contract. Never ever told me how much I'm going to charge you. And then I did buy the property. When I bought the property, I said, "What do you normally charge people?" And he says, "This percentage." And I said, "How much you going to charge me?" He says, "Whatever you want to pay me." Then I did pay him what he ever charged people. But if I would have given him half, he would have been just as happy. In other words, he
was grateful.
I feel that this individual, by the way, I love to do business shaking hands. I think that's the best contract.
That's, by the way, that's how I do business. I shake hands. The signing contract thing, it's necessary for certain individuals. And I tell my agents, listen, if you see the individual is kind of shaky, he's not very, you sign something. But if you have a good relationship and you have something, that's something that I can't really show you. You have to feel that. You shake hands and
I have an in-house lawyer, okay? Because I don't like to pay by the hour. Because the lawyer you pay by the hour, he doesn't want you to be in harmony, okay?
Exactly.
He'll make sure you get in trouble. So I got one on the payroll. I learned that very early. But sometimes, we have to do contracts because we buy a lot of gas there. So I don't do it anymore because apparently he learned. But he will write a contract and then he'll tell me how can I screw the other guy. And I'm pretty sure the other lawyer is doing the same thing. I said, that's not what you're here for.
Right.
That's not my intention.
Right.
But this is typical of that, I guess, of that profession.
That's
It's
exactly
just to
right.
write it in a manner that protect. And they want to protect you so bad that they...
Sometimes it breaks the deals.
So that's, again, to answer your question, I've known, quite a few brokers. I know at least a couple of them are really good people. It's not that the other people are bad, but I just don't like to use a broker to do my transactions. I really don't.
So you're saying it's more relationship.
Most of the assets that I have acquired are from the individuals who actually own the gas stations that I've been supplying, and they call me when they retire.
Right.
Or I have grown quite a bit because the oil companies have sold me their assets when they got out of the market. Like the first one was BP. When they got out of the market, they sold me the Dade County and half of Broward County market. When Shell got out of the market, they sold me all of Dade County market. When Chevron went out of the market, they sold me the last 25 stations that they had in South Florida. So that has contributed a lot to my growth.
Wow.
But at the same time, there were no brokers involved.
Right.
So it was just pretty much a straight sale. And also the fact that I remember when the first market, when I bought the BP market, I was only being supplied at the time by City Service, by Citgo. And I remember when they called me, I said, listen, I'm not even your customer. Why would you call me to do this? You have enough people. He says, no, because we want you on the way you keep your image and all that. So they called me to make a bid to buy their assets. And the same thing with Shell. I was never with Shell. As a matter of fact, we're competitors.
Right.
So I never had a station with Shell or anything with Shell. So they called me, and I remember the guy from Louisiana, he was in Louisiana when he called me. And I said, how do you know me? He said, oh shit, everybody knows you down there.
Yeah.
And so
That's good. You've created a great reputation.
well, again, another thing to learn, and you didn't ask me about this, but when you go to the bank, I never have problem borrowing money because I have excellent credit, but I think I have better credibility. And credit is important. Credit is when you pay your bills on time. You
Right.
have good credit. But credibility is when the individual, when the entity knows that you will die before you don't pay.
That's right.
That you will do whatever it takes. That will be a priority to pay first. And I assure you, if I go borrow money, I will pay that bill in time, and I skip lunch if I don't have enough money.
Yeah.
And that's called credibility. So
That's credibility and character.
when you have credit and credibility, and by the way, young people need to know this. To be able to be successful, you have to have good credit. And if you have credit and credibility, you will always succeed. Because you got to borrow money. You got to borrow money to get bigger. You just,
That's part of the...
as a matter of fact, even if you have the money, it's better to borrow the money. Okay? I have never, well, sometimes I have to use my money because I tell him, I need to buy it tomorrow. So I'll pay cash.
When it's time of the essence.
Then I
Right.
go on and I put a first mortgage on the property, whatever the case may be. But I've learned I don't use my money to get bigger. And I just, money that I invest to get bigger is also a loan from the bank.
Right.
And that, whatever I buy, is capable of paying that loan.
It's an asset. An asset that's going to
Correct.
pay.
Now, any improvement that I do on that asset is my money.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't borrow money to improve the
You use the business money to...
Correct, exactly. And that particular business has to pay for itself.
Right.
Or that particular station
Yeah, it's the
pays
cash
for
flow.
itself. And that's, again, that has been very important in my success.
Max, balancing family and business. You build an empire. How do you stay present with your family? When you were starting and managing such a massive business. How did that? There's a lot of young entrepreneurs that have young families, including myself. I have three kids, such as yourself. wife at home. There's a lot of events going on, kids events, but you also have a big empire requiring a lot of your time, right? And now we know that kids, the way they spell love is Time. Share a little bit about that and how it was, raising your children.
That is extremely important. I met my wife when we were 15 years old. And for 7 years, we had to hold hands with a chaperone. We were not even
You're recording.
I had visiting hours. We could not go alone anywhere, and so on and so forth. So during those 7 years, starting at age 15, I negotiated with my wife whether I was going to marry her or not. That was negotiation. And we didn't role play in some instances. And I only got married because she agreed a contract, not a written contract, a verbal contract. But the contract was very simple. You take care of the home, you take care of the family, I'll take care of the business. I don't want you to work. I'll do all the work. Naturally, she wanted to work because she's an accountant and she was studying and she was in college and all that later. And I said, okay, if you want to work, it's fine, but you will never use the excuse that you're working not to have dinner ready or not to take care of the kids when we have kids. That is your job. I am not going to change a diaper. I don't know how to change a diaper. I'm not going to learn how to change a diaper except if it's an emergency. I don't want you to work. If I don't make enough money in a job, I'll get 2 jobs, 3 jobs, whatever it takes. I'll work 24 hours a day. I will support you and I will support the family. I don't want you to work. I want you to be home to be the mom. Remember, I learned that from my dad.
That's good.
You marry a mom.
A mom, right?
Okay. To be a family. So at no time I should get any credit for raising my family. As 100% my wife. To this day, any of my kids, and Sandy learned that lesson when she was in high school. Okay, I'll tell you how she learned the lesson in a minute. But to this day, I have been blessed. And by the way, Esther worked until she retired from the University of Miami in 2006 to take care of the first grandson, Sam, to help Sandy take care, because we don't believe in sending the kids to any place except my mother took care of my kids when Esther was working and so on and so forth. But Esther always cooked. Esther always did that. As a matter of fact, I wanted to hire at one time a maid, and she refused to do that.
Just like my wife.
She's never, ever. Okay, so you can ask any of my kids. I'm a bad father. I have never changed a diaper. When I took them to play, I would take them there and leave. Because I remember when I was growing up, if my parents went to see me play, I was a sissy. Okay, so that being with the kids and embarrassing the kid, yelling to the umpire and all that, that doesn't happen with the Álvarez family. Okay, so 100% even to this day. As a matter of fact, my wife doesn't even know how many stations she owns. She doesn't care. And I don't care how much she pays for electricity at home or work clothes. She buys all the only thing that she doesn't buy from me is
The jackets.
the suits. Otherwise, everything else she buys, including the shoes. So that is, again, nowadays, perhaps it's not a good.
I have a very similar structure.
I'm telling you what I do. So this is, okay, so I should get no credit for raising the family. Now, I'll give you an example. Sandy, the oldest one, I think she was a senior in high school. And she wanted to go to a party. And mom had said no. So she waited for me to come home. And when I was alone, she asked me if she could go to the party. I said, yeah, that's okay, Sandy. That's the last time she ever played that game. Okay? So to this day, just recently, I was offered a position. Anyways, and it was a position in another country to doing something for the government. So I went to my wife and I said, this is it. Oh yeah, whatever you want. I said, no. This is family. This is your decision.
That's good.
I would only do it if you tell me yes, if no.
And that's good that you do that.
So she
because those are
says,
important decision.
she says, let me talk to the kids. So she went and talked to the kids, and the first one that she happened to talk was, I think it was Max. And Max says, I'm okay, Mom. It will be an honor. But remember, Audrey is only 5 years old, and Michael is 6.5. You're going to let him grow without you?
That's good. That's important. And that's a very important decision.
Again, I don't care what anybody says. Family's first. I am the breadwinner. Mom is the mother. You know why? Because I cannot be a mom.
Of course, of course.
You know, there's only one.
We weren't created that way. God didn't create man. God created man as a hunter, as the breadwinner. And I say the same thing to my friends. I was like, my wife is she's the perfect. I always say she does a harder job than I do.
I get emotional when you talk about this.
I tried doing it one time, staying home with the kids. I couldn't handle it. I couldn't. My mind was not prepared for that.
Again, this is not very popular nowadays because I see this is not common nowadays. It was common when I was born. My mom never worked. But I'll tell you right now, that's a thing. Oh my God. Being a mom at home,
Full-time job.
that's a never-ending job, and you don't get paid at all.
Full-time job.
That's, you know, when your incentive is when they grow up, see if they follow the things that you learn.
That's the old school.
Yep.
That's the old school mentality. That's the way it was, and that's how we were taught. That's how I was taught at
I even get emotional when I talk about this because
it's okay.
You know, people, you know.
At church, that's what we're taught. You know, I didn't learn all this growing up. My parents didn't teach me this. I learned this growing up. Now at church, I was like, the man is the breadwinner. The man is the one that brings the resources to the house. The mom should be the one raising the kids. You don't want a babysitter. You don't want to have somebody else raise your kids.
Again, I was blessed by mom and dad and just following it, you know.
You have the blueprint.
And that's, you know, and by the way, I could have changed. I could have done the opposite because I'm a rational human being and I'm free to think. And when I teach you the North, automatically the opposite is the South. So, but I stay the course because I think that is such a key to success. And if I did some statistics right now, people who do what I did have a better chance to succeed. Now, a lot of people would not agree with that. A lot of people do and they're very successful people. But I'm talking about me. That's just about my family, and I can only advise you the things that I like, the things that I've done that
is on you. So it's perfect, and that's and I thank you for sharing that.
So this is nothing that is right or wrong. This is my way. So you know, and by the way, that's my favorite song. I did it my way. Regrets, I have a few because
that's a great song.
I can hear that song a million times, and I just will never get tired of it because it just, you know.
Yeah, it's a beautiful song. I like it. This is gonna we're gonna start getting wrapped up here because I know you have to go. What advice do you have for young entrepreneurs looking to start their own business in the real estate business or in the fuel industry?
Or on any business.
Or any business.
Okay. I think it's important to choose something that you like and enjoy. I think it's important that you don't let anybody talk you out of it. If you feel that's what you like, that's what your dream is, just do everything that you can to accomplish that. I think it's extremely important not to be afraid to fail. If you're afraid to fail, don't do it because you're going to fail. So just be committed. You're going to have some failures, some bad times. Use it as a learning experience and keep on going. It's just like you're running, you fall down, get up and keep on running. Don't stop because you run. So those are the things mentally that are so important. It is also very important to make sure that you properly finance. Make sure you have enough credit to be able to do the things that you need to do, because that's very important. And if you don't have any money, don't let that stop you. That's what the banks are for. And you can deal with the bank if, listen, when you're young and you get a credit card, that's when you start. Make sure that you pay that credit card at the end of the month. Make sure that you don't pay any interest. I don't remember ever paying interest on a credit card. I don't remember paying interest on buying a car or a pair of shoes or whatever. I only pay interest when I go to the bank to borrow a lot of money to buy a lot of gas stations. And those are the things that are extremely important. Learn as much as you possibly can. Don't be motivated by money. That's a bad motivator. Motivator should be your ideas, your thoughts, your dreams. That should be the motivator. And at the end, you measure success not by the amount of money that you may have accumulated or the assets that you have. You measure your success. My wealth is my family, what I have contributed to, to have a really good family. And I can look back and I have really helped make this place a little bit better than when I found it. I think that my family, the Sunshine family, my company, has helped thousands of families become successful simply because, as a payback, I provided these people the same opportunity that I was provided when I came to this country. There is a quote that is been repeated many times, and it says, if I give everything that I have today, we're going to even be 10% of what I was given. There's no way I can pay back. When I come to this country with nothing, and Monsignor Walsh becomes my dad, made sure that I get an education. I've never paid a penny for my education. So when I now make a contribution to Christopher Columbus, to LaSalle, to Lourdes Academy, to Barry College, University of Miami, Belmont Abbey College, FIU, FSU, University of South Florida, it's just paying back. Yeah. And I was blessed by being provided with the capacity to do that.
Amen.
So I literally think that if I didn't do that, I'm stealing something. Mom and Dad will absolutely be upset if they found out I was doing that. So again,
That's great.
and I want people to understand that charity is not an investment. When you give something, you need to forget about it. Don't expect anything in return. Many times they come over here and they said, if you help me do this, I'm going to name the building in your name, and I'm going to put your name in the building, and what do you want to do with Álvarez, or you want Sunshine? And I really, I try to teach him a lesson. I'm giving you this for a purpose.
That's right.
To help other people.
Yeah.
I don't invest in my name. I mean, that's advertising. Hell, I can buy another gas station and make a lot more money.
Yeah.
Oh, it's tax deductible. Bullshit, it's not. After I give so much, it's no more deductible anymore. I got a limit. My limit was reached in January 5th.
Right.
That's so stupid.
Yeah.
But they tell you that. To me, that's offensive, but I understand again that just...
Yeah. They're trying to make their...
Well, that's the way that people learn. And then some people, I know, for example, I'm on the board of FSU. Somebody's donating X amount of dollars. My God, you should see the contract. Have to name the building this name. Have to do this thing. That's an investment. That's not charity.
It's better not to give.
So now, if it's me, I will tell you, put it in your ear. Then again, I'm not in that position. The thing is, and again, I learned this from Mom and Dad. My parents didn't have much money, but you could tell
principles.
How they treated the neighbors, how, just, again, those are things, I guess, that they're ingrained in you, though. So we need to redefine the word charity. We need to redefine the word investment. Is it a charity or is it an investment? If you expect anything in return, even a thank you, that's an investment.
Yeah.
So when you give something, just forget. Listen, I'm so proud because so many times from people they talk about something that I did for them, I forgot about it.
Yeah.
Just forget about it. I don't,
That's who you are.
I don't expect anything in
Your cup is overflowing, and so you give. And just like you're saying about giving, some that don't maybe not have as much monetary resources, but you can give of your time. It
Oh my
doesn't
God,
have-
that's it.
So yesterday, and part of that, because I'm sharing that.
I'm not that generous with my time. So my time is just.
So with me, I'm very involved at the church, right? And I gotta share this with you because it's what's helped me become who I am today. My spiritual father, Joaquin Molina, right across the street here, he has made it his life goal to impact the men around the world. And he wrote a book called What is a Man? But the reason why he wrote that book is because the man is the head of the household. We're the head and not the tail. And just last night I was with him. We spoke. He spoke at St. Timothy and the Emmaus men's group there on US 1 right across from UM.
Yep.
And it was about a little under 100 men there. And it was he brings me up to share my testimony because I got, when I met him I was only 22, lost in the world, no direction, but he guided me and taught me godly principles. He instilled in me what it is to be the head and not the tail. He told me make sure your yeses are yes and your no's are no. So he instilled all this in me. So the only thing that I can do, aside from anything monetary that I can give, is my time. And I fly with him around the world. We've gone to, he's gone to Brazil, India. He wrote the book in Poland. We went to Poland.
I think we mentioned this before. Time is the most valuable asset.
Time is the most valuable asset.
I am not as generous with my time.
Yeah.
Because I don't have much of that.
You don't have. I mean, you have a lot. You're a lot of people that do require your time, right? You have a family. You have grandchildren now. How many grandchildren
You
do you
have
have?
priorities.
There's priorities.
Seven grandkids. So
look at that.
And yeah, so that's, again, I mentioned this before. It's very important to learn priorities.
Yeah, exactly. This is gonna be the last one. We're gonna wrap up, guys, and this is really important. And you've obviously lived and are living an amazing life here with a huge empire, and you're giving a great example, at least giving back to the younger generation, the young entrepreneurs here. What legacy do you hope to leave in the industry and the broader business community? What is the legacy that you want to leave behind?
I really don't feel comfortable in telling you about any legacy. That I think the people whom I met in my life will talk about my legacy. I think I'm a very average individual
Very meek and humble.
who are working guys. But the legacy should be described by the people who knew me.
Who knows you?
Right. So,
Max, thank you very much. It was an honor.
anymore.
It was an honor for your time. Thank you so much for your time, and I really appreciate this time here and giving back to our viewers.
I'm doing this, and every time I have a chance, I do it. Simply because if we can impact one young man, to practice the family values, the core values, one individual learn that hard work is the common denominator of success, that money should not be your motivator, that family is first, God is God or family for sure. God is first. Without God, we wouldn't be here.
Amen.
And so if we can influence one individual, I invested my time properly doing this. So to me, this is an investment because I know if we impact one individual, the return on that investment will be great. So, and that's what I do. Sorry, I do get emotional when I
No,
talk about this.
it's okay. It's okay. It's coming from the heart, and I really appreciate it. It's an honor here to have you with us. Thank you.
He's an old man who supposed to be very courageous, have no fear, and all of a sudden sheds tears of weakness. So I guess.
You owe me a dominoes game and a golf game.
Again, thank you and keep
Thank
it
you
up.
so much. Appreciate it.
Keep it up, and I really learned something while I was doing this from you. And
Thank you.
of course, thank you for the cameraman who was very patient. I appreciate it. So I don't have much of that, so I really thank you for that. Thank you very much.
Stay tuned, guys. Thank you.